All right, welcome to the multiverse, the K-Dome, the Microdome. I am Lauren Taus. I'm a psychotherapist based in Venice Beach. I work with psychedelic medicine, and I'm also a podcaster. I'm super excited. My podcast is called Embodied Life. I've had a really juicy interview with Louie, who is here with us today. I'm so excited about my friendship with you and really jazzed to share some of your magic with everyone at the online Burning Man.
Well, glad to be with you in the virtual Burning Man. It's a lot easier than setting up a tent in a dust storm, which I did last year.
How was that?
It tested my ability to not cry. There was nobody to call, nobody to ask for help, and I had to gut through it. It was, the last minute idea to go, and because we showed the film in the NTO Dome, part of the David Bronner camp, where they have the foam dome, you get a shower, which is a gift, major gift at Burning Man. And anyways, I set it up, I got it together, but it reminds you how dependent we are. And the first thing you do is you grab your phone. Like, I can't do this, who do I call? And nobody to call. And the wind blowing, and I'm trying to manage this thing. And it was a healthy lesson that it pushed me to the limit, which is rare, that I almost lost it, which is a good thing. Yeah.
Yeah. So this year, no tent, no dust, but we're still doing it. We're still doing it.
And I'll try not to lose it. It's embarrassing to admit that I almost cried, but that's okay.
It is okay. I try to cry every day. I love crying.
Yeah.
And I think in a good way, your film has made me cry. Fantastic Fungi. What a beautiful, beautiful film that you made. And how long did it take you to make that movie?
Well, I started almost 15 years ago. And it was a slow process, getting to know Paul, interviewing Paul, and then working on other projects. But I made a commitment to myself that this would be one film that I would be able to control. In other words, I was raising money, putting my own money in, trying to get bits and pieces to make this film bit by bit. And being able to control it is important because it means I can show parts of it at Burning Man. I don't have to ask other people for permission. And I'm able to hold the space for conversations about psychedelics and not have anybody over my shoulder saying what is appropriate or inappropriate. And that's what I think helped launch this film and give it the success it has. I'm proud to say it's #1 documentary on Apple TV. Also in the top 10 of all genres on Apple TV. So we're kicking butt with the Hollywood studio movies and films about fear and sex and violence. And it enabled us to kind of be maverick, to kind of capitalize on this underground movement and catalyze that movement for people that are, I'm sure listening to this program.
Your film, in terms of the vision for how it would be distributed and how people would gather around it, was thrown into a dust storm, if you will, with COVID. And yet you've been able to gather people and create wild impact at home. Can you tell me a little bit about how COVID impacted the film and also conversation at large?
Well, I think from the very beginning, Lauren, I think that my mentor and guide has been the mushroom. So I've been just trying to mirror the mycelial network. So when we had a really good launch in the fall and we were getting buzz and, we were like selling out theaters, but obviously we went to the places we knew we'd have an audience. We opened up in Denver, with the decrim movements happening, Portland, Vancouver, Seattle. And we just kind of grew it. But then what happened was we got like about 5,000 requests for people that want to screen the film from all over the world. And there was no way we could fulfill that. So we came up with an idea, why don't we do a one-nighter? And we picked this date, March 26th. And we're gonna have 500 theaters from around the world so we can all be connected like the mycelial network. And then Paul and I were gonna do a Q&A from UCLA where we were gonna broadcast out, this is before Zoom became popular. We were gonna, broadcast to all the theaters and do it like in a European time zone in the morning, midday for East Coast, and then evening for West Coast. And then for some, beginning of March, we heard about the fact that, COVID had arrived. And then little by little, we had to shift our messaging to say, some people can go to a theater, some people should not go to a theater. It's your call, because we don't control the theater and we don't control the audience. And eventually we just said, you know what, we're going to just pivot and we're going to make this available online. And so we quickly, in 10 days, created virtual cinema, which we pioneered because then other people copied it after we did. The beautiful thing about the virtual cinema was we brought them on as a partner. We shared 50-50 on the revenue, even though they were watching it online, which monies went back to the local community for food banks and other things dealing with COVID, because most of the theaters we played in were art house type theaters that has a lot of mutual relationship with the community. And so I feel really good about that. But so anyways, we screened on March 26th virtually and had a great conversation with Paul and some of the key people in the movie. And we had almost 100,000 people attend from over 100 countries. And it was fabulous. So we did another one 2 weeks later, roughly, for right before Earth Day. And the same thing happened, and again, the beauty of it is that the marketing of it has all been through building community, having mycelial network go out, reaching out to affinity groups, healthcare, yoga, permaculture, psychedelic. We broadcast their message, and they reflected our film in their message, and that's how we got people to show up without advertising.
Really incredible. And I love the commitment to collaboration and co-creation, celebration, elevation, like within this like human mycelial network. I love it. How important for you is the psychedelic message in the film?
I think it's really important. I mean, on a personal level, I feel that the films I make have all been influenced by my early spiritual journeys with psychedelics in college. It's why I do a lot of time lapse and slow-mo and micro and macro. I'm committed to making the invisible visible. I'm committed to taking people on the journey through time and scale, which is a metaphor for the psychedelic journey. You get out of that human, confined perspective of life, and you realize that things are nonlinear. You realize, looking at a flower, what is it like from the flower's point of view, or a hummingbird or an ant? And when you do that, it broadens your perspective. It opens your heart in a giant way. And so those are the stories I want to tell. I mean, showing what the human being can see is boring on many levels to me. I want to see things that are real but invisible. I want to broaden my vision. I want to be able to celebrate life by having a deeper understanding of the interconnection of life.
Me too.
Yeah.
And the speed of life, right? Like the superficiality of it, when we're just running from A to Z, is deadening. So I think slowing down to pay attention is such a gift in living, and is by nature and definition psychedelic, right? Because it's mind revealing. It's like, oh, this is going on right now, like we're here.
And I think that's the key to like most spiritual or meditative practices, is to be present. Well, what nature does is, like, you see this gorgeous flower and you go, oh my God. And then you become present. The oh my God means, oh, it stopped me in my tracks. My means to touch the deepest part of my soul. God is the universal energy we all want to be connected to. You go, oh my God. And there you are. And so when you're in that moment, you're able to then bliss out on curiosity and wonder. You become present to be able to go, what is it that I'm looking at? What's happening right now? which we don't even begin to ask that basic question, like, where am I? What am I doing? What is this moment really about? Being present to observe. That's really the intersection between art and science, observation. So just to be present, just to observe. And nature does that for me in a grand way, because it unveils its secrets in a very kind of seductive, sexy way. It doesn't just say, here I am. It's like, what is that? It's like peeling back the onion. And how does that work? And how do you reproduce? And you just keep on unfolding the mystery.
You've created a lot of film and content globally around nature.
Yeah.
Can you tell me more about what you've created and what you're excited about beyond the film?
Well, a lot of things, I suppose. I'm going to do a podcast called Wonder and Awe, which I just talked about, because I think that's bliss. So why not go there,
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and then also it's the intersection between art and science. I really believe that is the gateway out of the pandemic that we're in right now. We need both as sort of guide rails, and nature and biomimicry being the pattern. So let's observe it from an artist point of view. Let's observe it from a scientific point of view, because we have to combine the feeling with the fact and put that all together. The moving art series I have on Netflix, and that definitely is about, imagery from all around the world, everything from Africa, Galapagos, Tahiti, Angkor Wat, Machu Picchu, etc. I mean, that series, which is pure nature, pure visuals in music without narration, allows your inner voice to come up and be heard, because I can just take you on a spiritual journey through that ecosystem, through that place, and not tell you what to think, not tell you what you should be, observing here. I'm letting you discover it on your own, as I discovered it on my own, right? To be on a journey of discovery. And then that enables, I think, your mind to quiet so that your inner voice can come out and speak to you, because you are always going to be your best friend and your true ultimate mentor, guide, bodhisattva. That's what who you are. And we don't listen to ourselves, or we don't give ourselves the quiet to do that. So these journeys, like, oh, we don't have to worry about who's going to get killed, who's screwing who's betraying who is going to have redemption. The stories of conflict are the mainstay of Hollywood entertainment. And they feel that unless you're on the edge of your seat with stress and fear and anxiety, that it's not entertaining, because who wants to see a story about a bunch of ants under the ground, leafcutter ants building a little house that turns into mold, that turns into food, that recycles life? I mean, where's the drama? It's like there is no drama. It's called the connection of life. It's a feminine view of nature, of a billion intersections and connections that are happening every second that we're not aware of, and the miracle that it works. That is a mind-blowing, story in my mind, and that's, I think, the stories I like to tell.
And nature reflects our nature. I like to say that you don't need to go anywhere to be in the wilderness. It's mimicked in the outside, inside, right? Like that our hearts are beating and our lungs are breathing and our blood is pumping. Like, it's outrageous. We don't even have to think about it. It's just happening. And
the fact that it's happening without you having to think about it, as you pointed out, is maybe the same thing that's happening in a forest, like the orchestration of all these plants and trees and bugs and microorganisms, billions like in a square foot of soil, my God, is all happening, is all being orchestrated by this conductor. And that's the mystery. Who's the conductor that's composing the score? But that's a beautiful question to ask. And you don't have to have the answer. You just have to be willing to be curious and want to be a part of it.
And again, that mirroring, right? Like, I find when I can just be in nature and still, and even just appreciate the trees outside of my backyard, it it connects me to my own heart, and it connects me to my own truth. Like you said, you can kind of be your own narrator in
Yeah.
this beautiful unfolding of life.
Amen.
Were you surprised at all by the outrageous success of the film?
Yes and no. It's funny, when the first couple of screenings, yes, I was surprised. We actually did a fundraiser at the very, very beginning for the Oregon Psilocybin Society that was, putting it on the ballot. And, they were saying, come on, come up here. I got to go to Portland, kind of a little bit reluctant, but eventually I agreed to do it. So I arrived there on a Sunday afternoon. I look up at the marquee. Oh my God, it says Fantastic Fungi sold out. And they just posted it on their Facebook page. And, to a filmmaker, that's like a miracle. On a Sunday afternoon, selling out a theater. It was a big theater. So again, that was one of the indicators that the mushrooms were speaking to me, saying, you've got to do this thing, independently. Now, what happened is there were over 100 sold out screenings, probably even more than that. I think 500. I can't keep the numbers straight, but I kept on going out and seeing this line, and I go, I can't believe it. And then I caught myself. I'm going, why am I saying that? Why am I saying I can't believe it? What I should be saying is I can believe it. I know it to be true. It's that knee-jerk reaction, I think, of, it's like you don't want to jinx it or something, or even reject it so much in your life that you go, oh, I can't believe it. But in your heart, you always knew that it was true, that this is a film that makes people feel good. It's a shift of consciousness. Why not believe it? I mean, why do you think? Have you ever said, I can't believe it? Do you ever say that?
Sure.
Why do we say that? Why do we say that?
Fear, doubt.
Yeah.
And I mean, just not trusting in my own goodness when that happens.
Yeah.
I think you've so clearly been dropped into purpose in a deep way, which you've been on the whole time, but sharing a necessary message in such a beautiful way that, I mean, who wouldn't want to watch that?
Yeah, and again, we all have to overcome that fear that's been instilled in us through our culture or whatever. But again, I realized that was a really powerful aha moment for me to stop saying I can't believe it. So I guess for everyone listening right now, whenever you say I can't believe it, ask yourself why.
Life can be really good.
Yeah.
Right? And it can be beautiful and full of breakthroughs that are actually happening beneath our feet all day long. Like you said, the whole thing is a miracle. How on earth does this whole thing work? It's amazing. It's amazing. What are your plans for next in terms of content creation, and is there going to be any more fantastic fungi type films that we can?
Yeah, I think that. Yeah, I keep on doing, I think, the deeper dive. As I mentioned earlier, I think with Fantastic Fungi, it definitely brought you into the present moment in terms of understanding, the mycelial network, and the fact that this magical, beautiful order exists under the ground that, makes the world go round, basically. And then I keep on going, well, why and what? And I think that I just want to be able to share maybe the experience of wonder and awe with people. The other film I want to also do that I'm finishing up right now, I've been working on for a long time, is a film about gratitude. And I think in this particular time right now, definitely gratitude is one way to deal with the anxiety and the stress, because there's a lot of change going on, a lot of hardship for people. And one way to deal with it is simply to go, okay, what can I be grateful for? I'm alive, I'm healthy, I got, 10 fingers. And there's a bunch of stuff I can start as a base to be grateful for. And when you start doing that, you fill up the hard drive in your brain and you leave less room for the negative thoughts to enter. It's one way I look at it, from a very computer logic way. And I think also going back to my wonder and awe, it's like, so when you finally get to that moment of wonder and awe and you're blown away, the next big emotion is gratitude. Because all of a sudden you're grateful for the fact you're observing a bee pollinating a flower, and you become aware of the fact that's how we get our fruits, nuts, and vegetables. And then you're grateful that all that is happening, and what a miracle it is that, we have this thing going on where we're the beneficiaries. All we have to do is stop killing it, so we can have healthy food to eat. And then you're over, so it's gratitude that like fills you, like, wow, thank you for, doing what you're doing.
You noticed my piece of art when we
Yeah.
started this chat. It was the first piece of art I ever bought, and I think one of my earliest rituals for 10 years, pretty religiously, and I still do. I wrote a gratitude list, and it was at a time where I was really struggling and in quite a lot of depression, and I just sort of trained my mind and eye to gather the good and to be expansive in what the good is. I am grateful for crying. I am grateful for my ability to feel. I am grateful for tiny little things every day. And
Right.
the more attuned I am to the good, the clearer it becomes. And it's very easy in this world to just see mayhem and destruction and violence and yes, that's real. But I don't think that like overly focusing on that is going to get us anywhere other than that. So
Yeah. Well, also, if you want to be a warrior,
yeah,
and you want to be a courageous warrior, then yeah, you got to eat healthy food. You got to be in shape, fight to fight. I'm serious, because if you just like sit in the corner and you watch Donald Trump, you get all mad and depressed and angry and upset, and you have no energy. Well, then you're not on my team. I want a bunch of fucking eco warriors, to have my back, right?
yes.
Yeah, and so we got to be strong, which means you got to live a healthy lifestyle, stay healthy, do all the right things, be aware of what's going on, be vigilant of what's happening, because we are survivors. I mean, like, I've got survivor DNA in me. My parents were Holocaust survivors, so having that in me is really part of my mantra. Is never give up, never again. These are all the things that came out of that experience from the Jews who survived it. And I'm a firm believer in that. I'm not going to quit.
I love that your never again is inclusive of all beings and all species. The way that you've spoken into it in our podcast interview on Embodied Life, you're like, I'm against extinction of any species. I mean, you're a real warrior for consciousness and for all of the beings that hold it, right? It's not just a Jewish thing. Yes,
No.
it's a Jewish thing, but it's not limited to one group.
Right. It's life. And if I have a religion, I would say life is my religion. I don't think there's any other religion, to be honest. What is this thing called life? We come up with all these crazy stories, but I don't want to see any life as become extinct. Period. I think it's arrogant, and we've learned now everything is interconnected. If we lose the bees, we lose our food. I see ants on the ground. I avoid stepping on them. It's like, how dare I, have the audacity and the arrogance to extinguish a miracle. If you look at what ants do, it's like, we can't even comprehend it, so that's why, like, again, opening your perspective to all forms of life makes you conscious, makes you present, and makes you respect life and protect life, falling in love with it. And that's nature's, secret. That's my phrase I always say, that beauty and seduction is nature's tool for survival, because we protect what we love. We get seduced into it. It's not a to-do list, Nobody taught you what is beautiful. Nobody taught you how to get turned on. right?
One of
So,
the missions that I carry is to support people in falling in love with themselves and respecting their own lives, because I find that people are, I mean, I really deeply believe that the greatest problem on planet Earth is mental health, and that if people were mentally well, they would take better care of the environment. If people were mentally well, they wouldn't be abusing and hurting other people. And I find that like the internal struggle, the internal violence is needing attention, and that people get to fall into kindness with themselves and inclusion with themselves, where, you know, I mean, day in and day out, I'm hearing people's inner pain and their misguided defenses, which have them in cycles of inner brutality. And like to see the beauty that you create and share so abundantly, thank you, and like see themselves in it. Like I am like no different than a tree or a wave. Like I'm nature too. I want to respect my nature. I want to respect my earth.
and that's why I think people, you talked earlier about, crying. People cry when they see my film, and it's not a sad movie. But I think what it is, it's a homecoming to that inner soul that they have, and they haven't been there in a long time. And when they reconnect, it's like, oh my God, like how, that feeling of longing, of like when you travel, you finally get into your bed at night, and it's like, that feeling of I think homecoming is a good way of describing it. Coming home, yeah, to your soul, and that reconnection, because we become disconnected based on the technological culture we live in. Wow, it feels so good. It
Doesn't
feels
it?
good to be home. You
Yeah.
know?
I like to say that all progress is return. And I also use the homecoming
Yeah,
analogy. It's like a journey to back to yourself.
yeah.
And what Fantastic Fungi does so powerfully is remind the viewer what they're part of. And it sort of like disintegrates sort of the like default mechanism and allows you to visually experience life.
I think all those rhythms and patterns are, a reflection of every cell in your body. If you look at it, through the microscope, and we did do a lot of microscopic, imagery. And so I think every cell in your body is rejoicing, going, I know you, because you look just like me. You move just like me.
Mm-hmm.
You act just like me. You are me, and that, I think, is healing. That's the healing property that people have responded to the moving art series. Getting back to the Netflix thing, where people have said they use it, for stress and anxiety, post-op, pre-op, breakthroughs with children with autism, young people who were suicidal, have all commented that by watching one of those episodes, it changed their life. And it changed their life, I think, because it's a mirror. They're looking into a mirror and had to go on a journey of self-discovery to learn a truth about themselves that obviously was beneficial or healing.
Louie, I love the way you speak about your work. Would you ever write a book?
Well, I appreciate you saying that. And I find that, well, two things. One is, I think I do have a gift with visuals, but I also feel,
Sure. Yes.
yeah,
Yes, you do have a massive gift with visuals.
but I think in talking about it, we're all walking, Buddhas. We all have a wisdom. And because I've spent so much time observing nature, observing the rhythm and pattern, it's almost like I've been reading the Sanskrit of life, because I'm looking at life. And I'm looking at the things that no one's looking at, the little things, the unknown things that are what make the world go round, the things we don't appreciate, as I said earlier. So but by observing those patterns and rhythms, maybe there's an intrinsic truth that helps me express things metaphorically with my training or my studies in observing nature. Because wouldn't it be great if we could be like the people that like are true believers? Like here's the Bible. Here it's all explained to you. This is how it goes. This is what you're supposed to do. This is what happens to you when you die. All that stuff. And I think we all want that. It would be great if I could hand you, the quote unquote Bible, and it was the truth, the real truth. But obviously we don't have that. But for me, looking at nature, I know is the truth. I don't know all of it. I just know I'm looking at it. I'm looking at parts of it because it resonates with the deepest part of my soul. Not only my soul, the reason why I think we have, people liking it, it resonates with their soul because I am just a messenger of the rhythm and the pattern of the universe. The same pattern that you see when you walk on the beach in Venice, the sand, the way the ocean makes, those formations is what's on the moon. It's what's on Mars. It's everywhere, and that pattern, that rhythm, that energy is everywhere. So I feel good about that. I mean, I can put my trust in that, right? It's bigger than anything I know of. And I find, and we all want is comfort in being able to, I think, to exhale and to relax and go, yeah, if everything is connected and it's all one, then I'm okay with it.
What are the best ways that people can get involved besides watching the film, which is available for purchase? And it's like, go watch it. I own it, and I've like bought it as gifts for people, and I have all my loved ones watching, rewatching.
Well, next week, I mean, we're number one on iTunes, as I said earlier, and number one in the most popular films across the board. Not number one, top 10. But next week, we're going to be on Amazon and Vudu as well. And I'm really, really overjoyed because I really think we're reaching into Middle America. I think we're getting outside of the narrow confines of our core audience, the Burning Man crowd, let's say, because we have to. And so it makes me really happy to know that we're going to be, broadly available. And the numbers are indicating, I think, that we are getting a much broader reach. Although I am proud to say, according to the data, our core audience are 18 to 40-year-olds, and it's pretty much evenly split between women and males. But I'm glad that the young people are just like adopting it like crazy.
Yeah.
From an old Jewish guy.
I think that the young people should share it with their parents, and the people who are watching who might know friends who are skeptical or judgmental or in pain, like share it.
Yeah.
It's a visual healing journey too.
And it takes away the stigma of having a conversation about something that could be very touchy or confrontational. Because basically you're saying, hey, I want to talk to you about a movie I just saw, Oh yeah, and then you go and talk about a movie, which makes it less confrontational. We have to build bridges to people who don't agree with us, right? We're equally responsible for a divide of this polarization. We have to work hard to reach out.
We sure do, and it's possible, right? I mean, it's already happening. So let's just keep widening the network.
And we've got the secret weapon, beauty and nature. It's not. I mean, it's not going to. It'll disarm them. People that are into hunting and fishing, they want to secure their way of life for themselves and their kids. They're on board. So we talk about that. You get them in the palm of your hand. And then you can open up the conversation to other things like how do we protect it? Don't walk in saying, I'm a Hollywood liberal filmmaker, environmentalist. No, they're going to be, they're going to shut down. I could throw Jewish in there too, but that would even be worse.
We got to have effective recruiting strategies for our eco warriors.
Yeah.
So good. Any last tips for the Burning Man community, for the community at large, for the people who are meeting you for the first time? Words of wisdom?
It's a great question. Let me think about it, because it's good never to have an answer. You know, that means that you're really present. I would say keep modeling this idea of community. And the Burning Man community is an extraordinary story. It's like the Mycelium Network. A bunch of guys start putting some art sculptures on a beach in San Francisco is where it got started, you know? And it grew and it grows and it grows. And the interconnected synapses of all those different tribes and people, you're taking the beauty of what's underground and you're bringing it above the ground. And in nature, communities survive better than individuals. That's the law. That's the law of nature. Nothing lives alone. Nothing. So keep mirroring it, keep honoring it, keep celebrating it.
Yes, what a great, great, great reminder, you know, because the world we live in can feel so disconnected, so separated, and we're not. So let's like stop pretending that we are and like jump into like hand in hand, like heart to heart, eye to eye, shoulder to shoulder, like eco warriors, and like with inclusion of self and other, and keep going and growing.
Absolutely.
Louie, always such a pleasure to see you, and thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you for sharing your wild wisdom with me. It always feels so good in my heart.
Well, you take me on a good ride every time. I appreciate it. Thank you for being